Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is December 22nd, and surprise, surprise, the Dodgers are spending more money this time for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today at the end of the week here, Friday, 3 days before Christmas? And if you're a Dodgers fan, you have gotten way too many Christmas gifts before Christmas even. And if you're any other team in the NL West, we don't envy you. It's gonna suck playing the Dodgers this year. If you're a Dodgers fan, congratulations. This episode is going to be talking about you guys a lot. Because I got a lot to say. I'll be honest. It's not surprising, but as a baseball fan, it's just like, again, like, it is a little frustrating. No matter what team you support, but obviously if you support an NL team, and especially an NL West team, the Diamondbacks, they just made it to the World Series for the first time since 2001, and now, yes, they've made moves. They've grabbed Gurriel back. They've grabbed Rodriguez back. But it's not the type of moves the Dodgers are making. They have spent lots of money. We're going to be diving on into it right now. So let's get things started with the most obvious and basic news, which is that the Dodgers are signing Yoshinobu Yamamoto to a 12-year, $325 million deal. Boogity, boogity, wow, that's a lot of money there. They got Ohtani, they got Glass now, they got Yamamoto. In last episode, we're talking about how the Royals are doing so much and, how impressive it is for them. I mean, the Dodgers, you can say just the same amount of stuff with these guys that they've been doing. And now they've added Yamamoto to the docket. And it's pretty wild how crazy the Dodgers have turned their team around. When we first started talking about the Dodgers and specifically Shohei, I mentioned how the rotation looked fraudulent, how, you can have young guys and you can trust the young guys, but how far can it actually take you? Well, they have shut me up by signing two guys who do it, and by signing, I mean they signed one and traded for one, Glass now being the trade, and then now Yamamoto being that signing. That rotation now is starting to look scary. For some of you who do not know who Yoshinobu Yamamoto is, let me tell you about him because he is elite in the Japanese league. He throws a lot of no-hitters. He wins the Cy Young over there plenty of times. He is gross. In his 7 seasons in the MPB, his ERA is below 2. In his whole career in 7 seasons, he's pitched to a 1.82 ERA. He is 70-29 in that time. 70 wins to 29 losses. Very impressive stuff. He's only given up 36 home runs in those 7 years. He is as elite can get. It was this guy and Blake Snell essentially for, who's going to make the most money or who's going to be the bigger pitching free agent offseason signing. And right now, Yamamoto has that bag. The good news, I guess, for Snell is that now that both Ohtani and Yamamoto are gone, people are going to start looking Snell's way. And by people, I mean specifically teams like the Yankees and Mets, who were outbid by the Dodgers here. It was shown by media, and let me tell you, the media is awful in terms of the false reports that we've been getting. I'm still on the Ohtani stuff, and even now with the Yamamoto stuff too that came up. The Mets offered $325 million, like the Dodgers did, but they did it before the Dodgers. The Dodgers actually matched the Mets offer. The Yankees were sitting at $300 million. Who knows how lengthy those years were? I'm assuming it was similar with the 11 to 13. Type there. But yeah, so the Mets were actually placed more money on the table first, but the Dodgers were like, nope, we want him, we need him, give me that. Going back to what I just said about the media, there was some news that apparently Ohtani was going to the Rams game tonight for football, and then it was reported that Yamamoto will be joining him. Obviously not the case. Ohtani did go to the game, but Yamamoto was not with him, and it's just reporters talking more stuff about whatever, but we're not diving into that. We got to talk about the Dodgers because, I mean, so far, they've signed Otani, they've signed Yamamoto, they traded for Glasnow and Margot. Let's not point out, Margot is an underrated outfielder in today's game. But in total, they spent just now over $1 billion this offseason. Obviously, not all for next year, but to spend $1 billion on specifically, 2 or 3 players is pretty crazy. But they have fixed up that pitching staff tremendously right now. Granted, any other moves right now, the rotation would be Yamamoto in the 1 slot, Walker Buehler in the 2, Tyler Glasnow in the 3, Bobby Miller in the 4, and then Emmett Sheehan in the 5 slot. It's looking less and less likely that the Dodgers are going to go re-sign Clayton Kershaw, but who knows what their plans are right now. But I mean, hey, the Dodgers have come out swinging in the market, and they're doing exactly what they need to do. We talked about it kind of last year. Not talked about it, but I mean, the Dodgers in that postseason, they looked lost against Diamondbacks. To get swept by your Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that was in your division, who you outplayed throughout the entire regular season, to look as bad as they did, goes to show you. And yeah, their pitching wasn't there, having Lance Lynn start games and everything. Not to discredit Lance Lynn, but obviously Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, their stars weren't playing. The Dodgers just looked lost at the end of the year. They're now ensuring up places where they needed to shore up, specifically in that pitching staff, which, like I said, now is starting to look pretty good. Taking a look at the Dodgers specifically here now, I guess, for 2024, like looking at the outlet, their roster is starting to shape up nicely, and we're not even in 2024 yet. I just mentioned how that rotation is starting to shape up and starting to look, and obviously they're going to be missing guys as well. The reason why that rotation was so beat up last year and why they had to go to so many young talents is because of guys like Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin, who are both right now out with Tommy John, major elbow surgeries. Dustin May, he fell down to an elbow surgery about mid-July of 2023, and he was expected to miss a full year there, so he won't be back for the Dodgers until about mid-July. Tony Gonsolin, he had a right forearm inflation, which led to his Tommy John. That happened about mid of August in 2023, so it's most likely that he will not be pitching next year in 2024. Taking a look at their, straying away from pitching for a second, Gavin Lux, he had an ACL injury early in 2023. He missed the full season there. So who knows what happens when he comes back, if he comes back, and if he does, is it still with the Dodgers? A lot of experts are saying they think that the Dodgers' best move now is to trade Gavin Lux, a young guy who hasn't played a lot, hasn't really lived, had the chance to begin with, but even then, his value could still be pretty high. And they can sure up, get a more day-to-day shortstop, or even try to go get, a fifth spot in that rotation, maybe some bullpen help. But right now, the Dodgers, for 2024, they shape up like this. And of course, this is just me looking at the rotation, the roster, and coming up with my own kind of predictions, I guess, or lineup. So if you are a Dodger fan, you can correct me in the comments if this sounds wrong. But leading off would be Mookie Betts playing second base. The Dodgers are planning to use him full-time at second there. Batting second, Freddie Freeman at first base. Batting third, Shohei Ohtani, the DH. Batting fourth, Will Smith, the catcher. Batting fifth, Max Muncy at third base. Batting sixth, James Outman in center field. Batting seventh, Manuel Margot in left field. Batting eighth, Jason Hayward in right field. And then batting ninth, Miguel Rojas at shortstop. On the bench right now, they got guys like Chris Taylor and Austin Barnes. And when you look in that bullpen, they got guys like Blake Trinan, Joe Kelly, Brusdar Graterol. Of course, their closer, Evan Phillips. And then I also threw Ryan Yarbrough in there because now that he's kind of kicked out of the rotation, Ryan Yarbrough can still eat up, 3 innings out of the pen, or a starter misses a start and someone gets hurt. Ryan Yarbrough is going to be a big piece there as well. But those are essentially the names that I feel are important to this Dodger rotation right now in the Dodgers roster. And let me tell you, and let me talk kind of candidly here. The Dodgers, you just spent over $1 billion. I'm guessing you guys aren't done. And like, yeah, Otani's for 10 years. Yeah, Yamamoto's for 12. Your window for a World Series needs to be this year. Like, you have to at least make the World Series. And that means going through the Mets, obviously the Mets, going through the Phillies, the Braves, the Diamondbacks, whoever you end up with facing off in the postseason, you have to beat until you get to the World Series. You have to make the World Series this year, and you have to win it in the next 3 seasons. The window is opened for a long time. They have a lot of guys on the books. Mookie Betts, he's a Dodger until 2032. Freddie Freeman, he's there until 2027. Will Smith, he's the kind of right now the guy that's like most closest to leaving, I guess. He's a free agent in 2026. Walker Buehler as well in 2025 right now. He's entering his last year of arbitration this year. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani, we're talking about him until 2034. Yamamoto, we're talking about him until 2036. You know, Tyler Glasnow, they just extended him. He's going to be Dodger until 2027, and if they want him for 2028, they have that option there. James Outman, he's entering his second year of pre-arbitration, so he's there until like 2029, 2030. And then Gavin Lux, he's entering his first year of arbitration this year, so he's there until 2027. Those are some of the main guys whose contracts I looked up. The window is there for a long, long stretch for Dodgers fans. But let me tell you, if you don't make the World Series this year, you cannot spend $1 billion and not make the World Series. You have to get to the dance, or else it's going to look bad on the Dodgers' part. Of course, they did win the World Series in 2020, but obviously that was COVID. People, you know, Mickey Mouse ring, however you want to call it, sure. But at the same time, too, I mean, you're looking now top to bottom, this lineup has a lot, and I mean a lot of potential, a lot of places where they can look really good for the entire 2024 campaign. And I'm talking like 110 wins plus right now. They look great. Obviously, that's not to discredit other teams. Like, looking at the Braves, I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr. in right, Michael Harris in center, Jared Kelenic in left, Ozuna's DHing, Riley's at third, RC at short, Albies at second, Olsen at first, Murphy behind the dish. They got guys like Travis d'Arnaud backing things up behind the plate. A rotation where Max Fried, if he's healthy, you know, guys like Charlie Morton's going to be around. Spencer Strider, obviously. Who knows if Ian Anderson's coming back, what the plan is. The Braves team is just as good. We could talk about the Phillies lineup, and obviously the offseason's not done. The Braves are probably still looking to add. The Phillies, they were in on Yamamoto for a little bit. They got outbid. Blue Jays got outbid, and Giants got outbid. I didn't really mention that. Only mentioned Yankees and Mets. You know, those Phillies, that bullpen was really good with Jose Alvarado and Craig Kimbrell. Obviously, Kimbrell's not there. Gregory Soto's still good. Matt Strahm, you know, the rotation, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Taron Walker, Ranger Suarez. They have one of the best catchers in JT Realmuto. You know, talent throughout the lineup going from Schwarber to Harper, Castellanos to Turner to Brandon Marsh even had a really good year. Obviously, no Rhys Hoskins, but they didn't have him last year either. There's obviously teams that are also very good in that NL, you know, in the NL, but you're spending $1 billion for Ohtani, who's probably going to hit 40-plus home runs, Yamamoto, who's probably going to be a potential Cy Young winner in his first year. Things I didn't mention about Yamamoto either already. His contract is the highest contract ever by a pitcher, and he hasn't even thrown a pitch in the major leagues yet, beating out Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's getting paid $324 million in his deal. So Yamamoto, the new highest paid pitcher in MLB history, and like I mentioned, has never even thrown a pitch yet. Yeah, the Dodgers are kind of geared up right now for a very strong 2024. And like I said, if they don't make the World Series this year, we have to ask questions of, okay, what's next? Where do you go? What's the improvement? Like right now, if you go look at the free agent market, who else do they need? You know, do they go and get like a Liam Hendricks, Josh Hader for the bullpen? I don't think you need that. The shortstop market is weak. I don't think they want a guy like Brandon Crawford or Gene Segura even. Excuse me. You know, who knows if how much money they have still, if they want to go get Blake Snell or like, Jordan Montgomery. You know, do they try for like a Craig Kimbrell? Obviously, they're not probably going to be bringing JD Martinez back just because Ohtani's taking up the DH spot, which means you'd have to play one of them in the outfield. That doesn't make any sense. You know, the outfield situation of Margot, Hayward, and Outman, that's solid. You don't have to worry about that. The really only position that you can kind of shore up, I guess, is that left side of the infield. Max Muncy at third, Miguel Rojas at short. Yeah, going with one of those guys, I guess, would be it. But like I said, the shortstop class is weak. And obviously, Miguel Rojas is not the only shortstop there. Chris Taylor is the utility guy. He will play anywhere, and he, I'm sure, will be in the lineup a lot for Dave Roberts and these Dodgers. I'm just saying, right now, if you're a Dodgers fan, you feel really great. But when that season starts, you guys got to go, and you guys got to go quick. And I'm talking about starting the year like 8-2, like a really hot start. People will start taking you seriously. You'll be in line for a 110 win season. And if you're a Giants fan or a Diamondbacks fan, Rockies, Padres even, you are starting to get real worried about what's going to happen right now. Padre fans, I don't know what you guys are up to right now. You guys lost Blake Snell. They're talking about shedding payroll. Ugh, not fun. They obviously just traded Soto away to the Yankees too. People are forgetting about that. That's how crazy this offseason's been recently. But yeah, Dodgers, you guys look good. All right, let's get into some other news here. I'm gonna kind of just combine some of the things here. Some signings have happened. Let's start with the Padres. They're signing Yuki Matsui. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. A 4-year, $21 million deal. This guy is coming from the MPB as well as Yamamoto. He's a relief pitcher, left-handed. He's entering his age 28 season, and he's a pretty nice pickup. Comes out of the bullpen to an ERA of 2.4 in his 10 seasons in the NPB. He's collected over 200 saves in that time. He's had 6 seasons where he's had 30-plus saves. A strong lefty presence, kind of, I guess, to replace Josh Hader. I don't know if he's going to be the closer for the Padres going forward. But we'll see what happens with him. As the Padres make a move there, they need to make a lot more if they want to counter the Dodgers. But Yuki Matsui heading to San Diego. Continuing on their signing path, Tom Murphy. He is signing a deal with the San Francisco Giants, a 2-year, $8.25 million deal. Tom Murphy, in his time, he made his debut with Colorado back in 2015. And since then, he has not had a season where he's played over 100 games. He is a backup catcher and a backup catcher solely. The last 3 seasons he has spent with Seattle. Last season, he only played in 47 games, where he did pretty all right in those games. He's batting average at .290, OPS at .873, 8 home runs, 17 ribbies. So he's a nice little backup catcher. San Francisco will be using him the same way probably, with Patrick Bailey behind the dish. That is the name of the Giants catcher, I hope, right? Patrick Bailey? Let me do a quick double check here on Google to make sure it is Patrick Bailey as the Giants catcher. But essentially, yeah, Tom Murphy's a backup catcher. Patrick Bailey's the starter. Yes, it is Patrick Bailey. And then he's the backup. So when Patrick needs a day off, Tom Murphy gets the slot. So that goes to show you. And that means what might happen to Joey Bart then. Because the Giant, he has not panned out for the Giants. They thought Joey Bart was going to be the next Buster Posey, and it really hasn't. So maybe it's time to trade him. So Tom Murphy there. The Pirates continue to try to build up a team here as they signed Martin Perez, part of that 2023 Texas Ranger staff, to a one-year, $8 million deal. Once a starter, now comes out of the bullpen a little bit more, so they could use him either which way. He was 6th in his Rookie of the Year voting, which came in 2013. And since then, he's been an okay pitcher, kind of, with the 4 ERAs. Towards the end of the decade, of the 2010s, he was pretty bad with a 6.22 ERA in 2018, a 5.12 ERA in 2019. But since then, has done pretty well, specifically his best season in 2022. Where he was an all-star and finished the year with 2.89 ERA. Last year with Texas, he finishes with a 4.45 ERA. He played in 35 games, which he started 20 of them, so 15 out of the bullpen. He's an okay pitcher. The Pirates are going to use him most likely as a starter, I would suggest. I don't think he'd be coming out of the bullpen too often there in Pittsburgh, but we'll see what that does. And speaking of Pittsburgh, their one and only Andrew McCutchen, he is back, and he's re-signing on a 5-year deal. Of course, he has been an amazing player with the Pirates for most of his career, going back to 2009 when he finished 4th in the Rookie of the Year voting. And then from 2011 to 2015, he was an all-star all 5 years. Obviously was the MVP in 2013. Finished top 5 in the MVP voting in 2012, 2013, 14, and 15. And since then, and really since he's left Pittsburgh, he's been a declining middle-aged outfielder, and now he's entering his age 27 season, his 16th year in the big leagues, and there's really only one thing everybody wants to see, and that is to see him hit one more home run. His career total home runs in those 15 years, 299 home runs. One more will get him 300. One of the biggest faces of the Pirates franchise over the last 20 some odd years, really. And, after having his kind of tour between Philly, San Francisco, New York, and Milwaukee, he is back with Pittsburgh. He was back with them last year in 2023, where he was pretty good before getting injured. He had a 256 batting average that year, 776 OPS, hit 12 home runs, 43 ribbies. He can still bat a little bit here and there. His defense has definitely declined. But he's an okay guy. I'm not sure if he's going to be healthy to start the year. He obviously got hurt towards the end. Didn't play really in the month of September at all, which obviously was the worrisome thing because people thought he was not going to get his 300 home run. Well, maybe he has a chance this year. And the last signing that happened, catcher and outfielder Eric Haase, he signs a 1-year deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. This will be his 7th season in the big league, spending most of it in Detroit, but had a little bit of time in Cleveland. He actually started his career in Cleveland, then went to Detroit, and then last year he played on both Detroit and Cleveland. He ended up going back to Cleveland to finish off the season there. Played 3 games, had 2 hits, wasn't anything crazy. He's an okay guy, probably backup catcher stuff there for the Brewers with William Contreras behind the dish. If, an outfielder needs a day off, maybe he goes play left field for a day. It's an okay move by the Brewers. Obviously, a lot needs to happen. But yeah, so those are a couple of signings that happened. But the Eric Haase signing isn't the only thing the Brewers did this week, as they have made a trade with the Mets. Surprise, surprise. They make a swap. The Mets are acquiring Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor from the Brewers in exchange for Coleman Crowe, who heads to Milwaukee. I guess let's start with Coleman Crowe. And he is a prospect that, hasn't really panned out yet. He's moved a couple teams now. He's gone from LA as well now to the Mets. And now he's Milwaukee. He is a starting pitcher with some high upside if he can stay healthy. Injuries have limited his time in the minors so far. So we'll see what happens there. So Brewers get some potential in a top prospect-ish type caliber, while the Mets get some help now, obviously in a quote-unquote rebuilding year. Adrian Hauser was pretty good for the Brewers in his career. He spent all 7 years of his MLB career with the Brewers. Last year with the Brewers in 2023, God, how many times can I say Brewers in a, short 10-second span? I think I'm up to 4. He finished with a 4.12 ERA, 23 games played, 21 starts, so essentially is a starter, but can use the bullpen if needed. He'll find a spot there in the Mets rotation. And then for Tyrone Taylor, another guy who is young, who had all this potential, and it really hasn't panned out with the Brewers. Last year, 10 home runs, had a 713 OPS, 234 average. That's kind of where he sat in his career here. Kind of playing somewhere between 80 to 110 games-ish. Average-wise, he's played the last 5 seasons with the Brewers, making his debut in 2019, and this will be his 6th season and his first on a new team with the Mets. I'm assuming he will be a part of the Mets daily lineup. I'm going to take a look at their lineup really quickly to kind of confirm that, just because I don't know where that actually would be. Obviously, they have guys there like Nemo McNeil, Lindor Alonso. Yeah, right now, according to RotoChamp, Tyrone Taylor is slotted in the DH spot right now. But I believe he is on a 10-day IL, technically with an elbow injury, but I'm sure he'll be healthy to start the season. Of course, don't quote me on that. And meanwhile, Adrian Hauser, he finds a rotation with guys like Luis Severino, who they signed already this offseason, Kodai Senga, who is most likely their ace now, Taylor Miguel, Joey Lacuzzi still around, obviously Carlos Carrasco, but he had a really horrific 2023, so who knows what the plan is there. But yeah, so Brewers get upside, Mets get some kind of day-to-day guys for this season, and we'll see kind of what happens there. All right, and now the last thing really on the docket for today's episode is that MLB has announced its new rules for the upcoming 2024 season. And there's nothing crazy about it here, but we'll go over them briefly here. The first thing of note is that the pitch clock when runners are on a base, this last year, 2023, it was at 20 seconds. It is being sharpened down to 18, losing 2 seconds on that clock there for pitchers. Another one is that the mound visits have gone from 5 for a game to 4 for a game. Everything is still the same with the whole you get an extra one in extra innings, and yada yada yada. Obviously, this rule doesn't affect me much, or I don't really care for it. It seems like teams don't really get to all 4 or 5 anyways, so losing a mound visit isn't the end of the world. This is a big one for Davey Martinez and the Nationals, I guess. The runner's lane will be widened to include the dirt between the foul line and the infield grass. Of course, Davey Martinez has had some issues with umpires making that call that affects the Nationals and himself in the worst ways every single time, whether he's on offense or he's on defense. But a bigger base lane for the runners like that. And this last one took me a second to kind of understand what it meant, because I was a little confused. It was worded, a pitcher who is sent out to warm up for an inning must face at least one batter. And at first I thought, okay, if a manager tells a player to go warm up, that means they have to come into the game that inning, but that ruins the 3 pitcher minimum rule. So it confused me. I dug in a little deeper, and this is what I came up with. A pitcher who is sent out to warm up for an inning must face at least one batter, in addition to any requirements under the 3-batter minimum rule. A pitcher warms up between innings, replaces before throwing a pitch. So, for example, let's take, I don't know, the team of the episode, the Dodgers. Let's say Joe Kelly's on the mound right now. He's pitching, blah, 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 blah. And then they pull him. Dave Roberts comes, takes him out. Whoever was warming up comes in. He has to face at least one batter. I don't understand it still, if I'm being 100% honest with you, because it doesn't make sense. The pitcher that warmed up between innings was replaced before throwing a pitch. So does that mean I was right originally with my whole, like, if right now, let's say Brewster Gretterill's warmed up for an inning, and then they sit him down, he doesn't come in, and they put someone else in. Is that what it means? I'm not 100% sure on that rule. Hopefully I'll get some clarification soon. I'll hopefully I'll watch MLB Network and kind of understand what that one means, because it's kind of worded funny, but at the same time, like, it feels like I should know what it means, but I just can't wrap my head around it. But those are the rules, the new major rule changes for the 2024 season. And I guess that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Dodgers fans, congratulations. You guys, all you have to do now is show that you guys are the best team. Because with the moves you guys are making and the money you're spending, it really seems like you are. Thank you, everybody, so much. Enjoy your holidays. I will not, I'll probably be taking a week off, and probably next episode will be next week on the 29th. We probably have one more episode of the 2023 year, calendar-wise. But yeah, obviously with Christmas being on the 25th, the holiday season is in full swing. People are busy. So I, as well, am one of those people who are busy. So we'll take a week off here. We'll reconvene next week to talk more baseball. So thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you guys in a week. Thank you very much. Happy holidays, everybody.